There we go. We're live. We got everybody up on the screen here. How are you, Bryan?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. You have a much more professional setup than we do.
I know, suddenly.
You should see what I do voiceovers with. This is the cheap stuff.
I mean, we just have pictures and postcards behind us. Yeah, I can see all that equipment in the background.
Yeah, right. It's a little more fancy.
Too lazy to put a backdrop.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting to make sure everyone can hear us out there. We hear each other just fine. If someone can just give me a thumbs up, you can hear us, whatever it may be. Ashley's saying hello.
Oh, boom. Yeah, it does have a slight delay. You
Yep.
can see, because
There we go. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking at a whole bunch of different screens too.
Yeah, right.
And this is what I do all day. I have different screens set up for what I'm doing anyhow, which has nothing to do with YouTube or live streaming. But all right, perfect. Everybody can hear us. So, Bryan, you and I were kind of chatting behind the scenes about wanting to talk more about everyone's excited for the day theme parks open, the days we can get back to traveling and all of that. But for a lot of us, particularly you and your family, Ed, we can't just go back to the way things were before because we have issues with immunocompromisation. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about what the scenario is for you and your household.
For me, I'm a smoker with high blood pressure over 40.
Okay. Yeah.
Smoker is basically the coffin. No one, as far as I have heard, anyone that's ever gone on a respirator that is a smoker has not come off.
Wow.
No.
I had not heard that stat. That is the scary.
They think that's actually why Italy is such a high percentage.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because yeah.
But yeah, no, if you actually go back and you listen, you'll hear people's like, there was a young person, and they're not even a smoker, that, like, when they talk about a young person that died of it.
Wow.
That's interesting.
So, smoking, and basically anything that's compromised your lungs, you're going to have a bigger fight.
Yep.
Yeah, and then my daughter is asthmatic.
Okay.
Yep. And Ed had, childhood asthma. When you're on chemo, you already have to be aware of certain pneumonias that can come about just because of the immunosuppression. Ed, you've been fortunate so far. Your blood work has remained, strong through all of this. He's in the midst of chemo week right now, actually. So this is the middle of the week for you.
It's been fun. Yeah, that's tough though. I mean, I had childhood asthma, and I just remember, I'm very fortunate. I did grow out of it, and it only comes back now if I'm sick. I have to have an inhaler around, but it's very, very tough.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a lot of nights waking up gasping, so it's very scary.
So I don't think, what's going on right now presented anything to all of us that we didn't already know. There was always the chance of, flus and pneumonias and this and that, but I think it brought it to the forefront of we're probably not doing everything we should, and it reminded those of us who do have these extra issues that we need to do more going forward. So we've been locked in our house for over a month now. I think early on in that month, we had to leave for appointments, and even that we took all to virtual.
Yeah.
Since then, so we need to go out to walk around the neighborhood. I don't know what you guys are doing on.
I haven't walked around the neighborhood, although we have braved Publix a couple times.
Yeah.
Okay, I do.
But more that was more because that's also our pharmacy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we have a drive-through one here, so I'm able to go do that. Which we always laugh because they still made us sign, and I started refusing to sign. I'm like, if I'm putting the extra step in.
Yeah. But
one of the biggest concerns that I think comes up for everybody is theme parks are going to open, and everyone's talking about is everyone just going to flood back in? And I don't want to hypothesize on when that might be or whether people will. We're going to have to take extra precautions in our families. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Some of our concerns, some of your concerns, and things that we're looking at that are going to change. So I know... Oh, go ahead, Bryan.
I was going to say, I agree with that because... it's definitely not a run out and be first in line situation for me.
Yeah.
Us either. I mean, I'm dying to. It's why many of us moved to this area of the country. But I also need to think twice about that because I can bring stuff home to Ed too, even if it's just me going out. So right now, we don't wear outside clothes in the house. We don't wear outside shoes in the house. When groceries come in, we disinfect them and keep them in the garage if they're shelf stable for a while before they come in. I'm going to have to keep doing that, if I re-enter society, if you will, before you do.
Yeah.
And I just think about, it's been rounding, Twitter and everything and Instagram right now.
Well, that's something that's kind of got me with my daughter because she is a theme park worker. So she works at Universal. So she's going to be heading back prior to me. Like she'll be there for opening day there. Especially now with the announcements because she happens to be a full-timer. So she's not one of the furloughed.
Okay.
So that's that makes it kind of interesting. And you start having discussions like, well, what is you coming home going to look like? And what supplies do we need that we're not thinking of yet?
And we're already running low on some of those, cleaning and disinfecting, and we're not overly using them either. We're being more cautious in ways than other households would, but you're going to need more if your daughter's going out potentially every day to work.
Like, and some of it's just stupid, like laundry soap.
Yep.
He's going to be doing a lot more laundry.
Right. We thought, oh, we're fine. We have so much. But when you realize, maybe, and you cannot find Amazon and a lot of that, it's harder to find, and that makes it more complicated.
So I fully expect, and in an interesting sort of way, to see cast members and team members wearing masks. And I think, especially if they're guest facing, it's going to have to be something.
Do you?
I do. I think it would be.
I think that's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, Disney wants to say you're safe here.
Right.
Yeah. But I think normal's new. It's going to look different.
Yeah.
That's a tough. I can't imagine going through the gates and everyone's wearing masks but
I'm sure it'll be $40 mask ear cover.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah.
They'll be themed, but
But even the other thing that I've been thinking about is when you're in line, and this is what I was saying was going around Twitter the other day, please fill in all available space between you and the party in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
We have a whole.
That's pretty much gone.
Yeah. But, and that's where, how is Disney going to deal with capacity? Because people are going to come back wanting to just jump back in. And no matter how much it is, how many people, I think it's going to be more than anyone would anticipate. How do you start to do these things? Maybe not everywhere, but when you're jammed in lines like that.
Well, I think they have kind of an advantage of the Asian parks.
Yeah.
Where Asia is going to be more government strict on, no, you will do this.
Right.
Okay.
So in a way, Shanghai should be a test run of anything they want to do. But the Chinese people are also very familiar with masks. They know community and keeping away. So I think they can get a general idea of what park procedures may need to look like from that park.
And that's also, and they already have, parts of it open right now, not the theme park itself, but areas of public. And I wonder how it's looking there. I haven't actually looked.
From what I understand, it's mask required. You have to get your temperature taken.
I know they have that app you can scan and stuff too. Question for you, Ed. When we were in Tokyo, did we ever see cast members wearing masks on stage? Because you imagine people go to work sick, and in Japan they will wear a mask to protect others.
That's a good question, and I do not remember. So that probably makes me think maybe not. They did already back in 2017. They were selling Disney masks that you could wear.
They put a character's face on your face. It was ready to smile.
Right.
We actually tried to get those when he had to start wearing masks during radiation at the beginning, and they were out of them. Our friends couldn't find them.
So that's different. But I don't remember any cast members wearing them.
I was trying to remember. Yeah, I don't know.
But they might now.
But it's gonna be interesting to just see how all of that changes. And I think, my opinion, crowds are not going to resume as fast as people think they were, because even the people who were diehard and ready to go, they're not going to get back here as fast as they think they will, from other parts of.
Well, I think there's another problem, which is no one has work. People have already paid their annual passes, and there's no school.
Yeah.
I think the local flood of people just tired of being in their house is going to be a lot bigger than people think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be busier than they're prepared. You think the opposite. The only thing they could do is change limitations on how many people can get in, but that's a nightmare then, because everybody will just stand around in the morning.
Well, they're definitely going to have to drop capacity.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be something where we'll just make the assumption that it's 100,000 for Magic Kingdom, even though I know that's the old number and it's much higher now. If you're going to be 6 feet away in a queue, you lost half your capacity right there.
Yeah.
More than half. So, we're probably talking maybe the amount of people they would put into an old Halloween party back when you could actually move around and enjoy yourself and not be on top of people.
And that's going to be, like I said, then that makes me wonder, how do they determine how people are getting in unless everybody's waiting around at, whatever time o'clock in the morning?
Well, that's something I was just going to bring up.
Then we're all just standing there waiting to rush and be the ones that got selected in.
Well, here's this. I think it's going to be a little bit different than that. Bryan, I sent you a message, I think it was yesterday. Disney has hours on the app starting May 3rd. We all know that's probably not going to happen, but it made me realize if they're taking reservations for June 1st, there's nothing that says things can't open prior to that and reservations can't be limited to a certain capacity for on-site resorts. And I wonder if that's a way they can balance out.
Well, there's a lot of talk about people who have gone through this already and aren't at risk anymore about getting back and doing stuff. So, yeah, could Magic Kingdom only open with maybe 2-3 resorts? And then would you open resorts? Or personally, I would do 2 weeks of Wish Kids as the first people back.
Yeah, that's true too. Yep.
Bring, all these Wish Kids that, like, some of them unfortunately didn't make it.
Right.
Yep.
But all these Wish Kids that have had to wait or weren't able to come back these last couple months, they should just pretty much give them the whole place to themselves.
Right.
And I think they need to, because they're definitely falling under the immunocompromised. And
Yep. And that's going to be the interesting thing is as we're talking about that, Disney is so strong into that. I would be perfectly happy if that's the way they slowly started phasing things back in, starting to see. I mean, again, I don't want to make it all about a speculation on Disney type of chat, but there are real concerns that we have going back in right now, because it's also, any travel is a worldwide destination. Mm-hmm. People are bringing different restrictions and convening them all in one place, whether, it's Disney or Paris or whatever.
Yeah.
Internet, I think the thing that scares me the most, and we all know this, even if you didn't notice it, no one stops their Disney vacation, no matter how sick they are.
Right, and that's what we were talking about.
They have to be dragged to the hospital saying, no, you're sick, you got to go.
Yes.
To stop. And that's what scares me, because it means a whole bunch of people are they're going to be so in love with Disney that they don't stop and think.
Sure.
And I think that's what happened the last weekend, too. There's a lot of people, it's like, oh my God, it's Disney. I got to go to the final weekend.
Right.
That's every vacation, though, too. I remember growing up, my mother wouldn't cancel a trip unless one of us really couldn't move, because it was booked. It wasn't refundable. You only have so much time off with school and things like that. And that's my other fear, is if schools remain out for a period of time when travel starts to resume again. I said this to Ed as things were closing down, and I think I said it to you too. If school's canceled, I can work remotely. Airfares and hotel prices are dropping through the floor to promote travel. This is a great time to travel. And I was like, no, it's not. Everything needs to shut down before people get that idea. And
I know a lot of people that are buying a lot of tickets, hoping they can move them at the same price to a more expensive ticket.
Yeah,
and I mean, we booked some of our DVC points not knowing what to do right now, things like that. Like, we can hope for 4 months from now, I think is when we used them. But we're, it's a weird position of we can't.
See, resorts kind of scare me. Originally I was thinking no, maybe I'll just stay to the resorts or springs, but they're shared air conditioning.
Yeah.
And that's how it's getting around a cruise ship.
Yeah.
So maybe a hotel is better spaced and everything, but it's still shared air conditioning. And if people are getting this just by talking to each other, I mean, I
think there's a lot we need to know about this more before we can even start to make decisions. But for people like me and Ed, it's 0 or 100. We're not somewhere in between right now. If we don't know, we don't go back right now. And that includes, I was thinking, other travel things. If we have a trip planned like we're talking about for the summer, maybe, think about boarding planes. Mm-hmm. You have to we know a plane is safer than, most other public places when it comes to airborne things like this. But you're all compiling into this small gate area. Everyone's on top of one another trying to board, getting in each other's way. There almost has to be a thought change in all of that and how that happens. And that, I think, spreads wider than Disney, air travel, or any of that. It's a lot of social interaction.
Yeah, right, because it is different than September 11th, where it was sort of, put more metal detectors, put more security, and you're kind of good to go for the most part. As long as you're monitoring people, everybody here is a suspect of potentially having something that may make other people sick.
I think the big game changers is if they have a cure that's safe for just about everybody. Hopefully, it would be safe for me.
Right.
That definitely makes it less risky.
Yeah.
Same thing with the immunization, but that's not happening this year.
Right.
Correct.
So we won't see that till maybe a year from now. Or
right.
Maybe. So that kind of leads me to this. I really want to get one of these antibody tests.
Sure.
I'm 90% sure my daughter has had it.
We think she might have had it too.
Yeah, if she didn't have it over Christmas, she probably had it in early February.
Right.
Yep,
There's a slight chance I also had it early February.
Yep.
But February, so basically over Christmas, she had like about a week where she had a flu, but it wasn't the flu.
Mm.
And it wasn't any type of severity that she went to a doctor or anything, but you could tell like she didn't really want to eat anything. She just wanted to sleep, but she didn't have the mucus and the coughing.
Right.
Well, coughing a little bit, but she didn't have everything else that would go along with a cold. And then, a couple days later, we're looking at each other going, you should go to the doctor tomorrow. And then she's fine. And then 2 weeks later, so time frame wise, so roughly 2 weeks after Christmas, Sean from Negro Orlando joined us for Christmas. Sean was suddenly horribly sick for one day. Never been that sick before, but it only lasted for him for one day.
And that's the stuff I think you're right. Retroactively, we're going to look at it and say, oh, maybe that's what it was. Because it doesn't present in the same way for even a lot of the population. It's presenting differently.
Yeah, the one thing I doubted is the whole smoking side, and they don't survive it or whatever. But at the same time, I'm also very, very particular with what I start doing when I start not feeling well.
Yeah.
So there's little things like, oh, my throat's getting scratchy. I start adding a little bit of lemon to water.
Right.
It's because it helps stop whatever's building up.
Right.
So, and I would have done that I did do that in February. So basically what ended up happening is I started doing a lot more walking and stuff, getting ready to film for my new channel because I knew I was going to do 10 to 20 miles a day filming.
Right.
So I started getting ready, and then I woke up one morning and I just couldn't move, didn't want to move. It was like that, when you're sick and it's like, okay, the water's right there and I can reach it if I just reach out, but you just can't. It felt like that for 2 days, but it wasn't sick.
Right.
I was just, my muscles were like, no, you're not doing anything today or tomorrow or the next day.
Right. It's like mono almost.
Yeah. And then 2 days after that is when my daughter had the second set where she couldn't taste anything for 7 days.
And that's what they are saying now. That was the largest indicator, more than the cough or any of those other symptoms, was actually lack of taste / some metallic taste.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That was actually the original test. The original CDC test was the smell and odor. Unfortunately, they didn't realize 80% of the people couldn't smell the odor. And did I lose you guys, or did you just...
No, I'm trying to make sure we fit in it.
It's fine where it is.
There.
Okay. I was like, oh, great, I get to talk to the audience, I guess.
Right.
But it's one of those things where if I had an antibody test, I would know.
Yeah.
And it would let me make some decisions. And even though I'd be at high risk, and be honest with you, I'm probably going to fall into some category of people who can catch it a second time.
Right.
And if I had it so mild, I think of chicken pox, where if you had it mild as a kid, you're probably going to get it again as an adult when your kids get it.
Yeah.
So it's a little, I don't know. It would definitely help out if I could get a test, and that one specifically. And I know there's a company in South Florida that claims they have an antibody test right now. But I don't know much detail. I know Puerto Rico ordered 20 million of them to test everyone.
Oh, wow. It's going to be interesting, though, because even if, okay, let's say the three of us find out we all did have it like we suspect we did. Then what? It's still, I don't know that we necessarily can or can't catch it again. Like you just said, sometimes you get chicken pox twice. Do we want? So it's still we're walking out into a lot of unknowns until we know.
Well, I in that case, I'd be willing to risk it in a certain way.
Sure.
So, for instance, I'd still be concerned about shared AC, so I probably wouldn't go dine. I probably wouldn't go on any indoor rides, even if it's just an indoor queue to an outdoor ride. What I would probably be comfortable is I need to see the way they're going to get you into the park. Because I know I can go like 2 in the afternoon and there's not much resistance. But if I have to touch my finger to something, I'm not going to want to do that.
Of course.
I'm fine just roaming around Magic Kingdom, maybe getting an ice cream cone or something and just.
That's true. You and I wander out. I would do that if we knew we were safe and had enough knowledge to make that decision and know the risks.
Yeah, and then I can stand where I want. I make sure I'm not there at parade time.
Right.
If there even is parades.
That's what I was just gonna say. Do you think we still get parades and fireworks back? I'm not gonna speculate for Disney, but I don't want to be there for that.
I mean, you think about the quad, right? Before Happily Ever After, it's a madhouse. It is insane. Will that ever, or at least for the foreseeable future, ever look anything like that? Like, you can't imagine that many people.
I would not be surprised if they started some type of fireworks that's right after the park closes.
Yeah.
In other words, you're not in it anymore to see them.
Yeah.
You have to exit.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it's not widely visible from the resorts.
Right.
And all you did is move the crowd to the resort.
Right.
So that was a little tough. Fireworks could be a thing in the past for a while.
Yeah.
But same thing goes with any stage shows. Meet and greets are probably done, which I feel sorry for those performers.
Yeah.
Or meet and greets, because you're physically touching between people. Kids don't know they can't hug a character.
Sure.
I think there'd be more trouble leaving a meet and greet open.
That's a good. I hadn't thought of that. How about moving people from their cars to park gates, particularly in Magic Kingdom?
That kind of scares me too. That's kind of the biggest worry. It's like, just to get to the Magic Kingdom, you got to get enclosed.
Yes.
And squish with people. So, but again, it depends on what time I would go through and whether I knew if I was safe or not, or how safe.
Right.
Because I might do top deck of a ferry at 11 a.m., which I know is generally where the crowd starts disappearing.
That's true.
But I would be okay sitting off on the side by that bathroom, waiting for the crowd to be fairly empty.
Yeah, because even if they allowed fewer people on the boat,
it's going to take
everyone would stand in the way. Yeah, so you'd have to it's a whole.
TTC isn't big enough to hold people spread out 6 feet.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And I don't want to jump on the monorail.
No.
This is a good point. Christie just said she's already booked for October, but if she's not getting 100% of the Disney experience, she's going to reschedule for early next year. I think a lot of this discussion has travel in general changed? I don't know that we'll ever have the same Disney experience.
Well, a couple of days ago, President Trump kind of slipped and said that sports were pretty much done this year. Like I don't think they're expecting to open arenas this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Major League Baseball is trying to do an argument and a test where they could do it safely, but I think they're planning without crowds.
Yeah. And that must be odd for people to watch.
Yeah.
It's
not going to be a 100% experience this year.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure any extras for Halloween are probably stopped. Any extras for Christmas. They're not going to drop money into that right now.
Except they did just launch the Christmas tickets, which I found strange.
Well, that was the tickets. So I still understand doing the Christmas party. However, I didn't actually read it. Did they actually say what was going to be there this year?
No, but I think they launched dates. I did not look at it. I just saw that dates were open. I haven't. It was literally in the past 2 days.
That's peculiar.
Like I would. Yeah. What's going to be left for Christmas?
Right.
Rides, I don't know.
I guess you can go on the rides.
Unless they're doing it extremely limited, where maybe they're only going to let 5,000-10,000 people in and do it like an after hours.
Yeah.
But even after hours can get a crowd for a parade.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if it specifies anything that would be unique to this discussion.
It's that. I mean, you think about like even the DVC events and things like that. Those are just herds and herds of people grabbing as much ice cream as they can, like running the.
Yeah.
All that changes potentially too.
I mean, it looks like they still have all of the same stuff they've mentioned in the past on the website. I'm looking to see if you can buy.
Well, see, that makes smart because they want people to book, and then you'll make your decision closer.
As long as you can refund people, then
you can always refund. You can always reschedule. It's
yeah.
They have to think about like how can we get people already thinking about it. dropping out like the home version of a Dole Whip and stuff.
Right.
It's like, keep us in your mind. We're here.
Right.
There hasn't been a day that's gone by since the parks closed that I haven't heard from Disney twice in some form or another.
Oh,
which is actually amazing. Also, I hear from Hawaii tourism every day. We're big Hawaii fans, as many people on here probably know. So I'm hearing from them. I'm hearing from we follow Jinto, which is the Japan National Tourism Office. I hear from them minimum twice a day.
Like
so everyone's still reminding that these things are still there for when we can get to them again.
Yeah,
but that might not be the same for groups like us.
Yeah,
and I'll be honest with you, I expect it to really ramp up tomorrow and next week, because first checks would have been today for your stimulus.
Oh, I wonder.
So everyone tourism is going to really pile it on. It's like, no, you should schedule something. Only $200 to hold your spot.
Yeah. I don't know though. I don't know. It's just so many unknowns.
Well, I also think international customs. If we have precautions that we're taking, and we have medications, I know that going to Japan, there are certain medications we could not bring into the country. Pseudoephedrine, you cannot bring in. I don't remember some of the others, but that was a big one where I'm like,
but don't they have the strong stuff over the counter there though?
So you can grab things in the pharmacies. It's the green. It's just like in Europe too. It's the same thing when I was in Paris for a while. And some of the medication, honestly, was better than things I ever got.
That was
here.
Europe. We never bought in Japan, though, did we?
No, but we went in to get something.
Okay.
But
so I know some people that went to Thailand recently, and pharmacists were basically doctors.
That's how it is in Europe a lot of the time too.
Okay.
More so than Japan. I don't know. We didn't try to buy like medicine or anything. We didn't need to. We bought sunblock and stuff like that. But my big thing also is if you're trying to do your own precaution that you've discussed with your doctors, and I will say Japanese immigration and customs, while it was wonderful, was unlike anywhere I've ever been in the world. If you're trying to do things your way, they're going to have so many different normals that they're going to need to address. Likewise, people coming into this country, there's going to be different habits, different practices above and beyond what we have now that I'm wondering, how much is that going to be flexible and realistic to go to another country and think, I can do what I do here to take care of myself.
And that ties in really well for like, when do you go back to Disney if it reopens? Because when are they going to open up the flights to let everyone else in?
Yep.
Right. Because it's going to happen. Eventually, some version of Disney World and all the other parks will be open and operational, and they won't be limited, and that's going to be an interesting time too, where people aren't going to just wander through and do their thing. And like you said, go in knowingly sick, which is all the time we're hacking and sick. And
David said he always found Japanese medicine wasn't strong at all. That's what I find is a lot of things that have any sort of like psychoactive response minimally, Japan does not allow it. So yeah, it was interesting. And you and I had to study that because we needed certain medicines when we were over there.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't realize it was that different.
I didn't know that it was that different for Japan. I know when I was in France, I got horribly stomach sick, and they gave me one thing. It went under my tongue, and within maybe 15 minutes, I was completely better and was good for the rest of the month. It was like, miraculously, I was healed. I don't know what it was. I wish I bought it by a box for the home.
It's like when we were in Germany, I got one of my, typical allergies turn colds. And whatever I got over the counter that was a nasal spray,
you were instantly
cured. I was like, I'm taking this on the flight with me. Just different. Who knows what it was?
Yeah.
What country was that? Because maybe I will travel there.
Yeah, right.
That was Germany.
Yeah.
Yep.
Germany's having trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, they're going to screen everybody as they enter the park. But what does that mean?
I need to know what that looks like. Like, do I have to get on the monorail then I get screened? Meaning someone that was on the monorail with a fever? Are we only looking for fever, or is Disney going to get COVID machines to do 15-minute tests for anyone with a fever?
I wonder for the people who have 8 people in the party and they all roll up, and one person, it's that threshold of fever. Do they now turn all 8, 9 people and say, no Disney for you now?
Because you've potentially been exposed. That's
that means you turn around and jump back on the bus.
Right.
Or are they going to get you with the resort?
Right.
Are they going to get you when you check into the resort until you know you can't stay here?
Right. That's a lot of that stuff. I mean,
And we're talking about checking temps. Some people don't.
A
lot of sick
people
doesn't show with temps right away. Also, when I'm thinking about if you checked me by the time I got to the Magic Kingdom turnstiles, I probably have a temperature from getting there. Like,
yeah, there's some is like with the high blood pressure, I generally run a little hot,
Sure.
especially if it's hot out.
That's definitely an issue. And I lost my mind. What was I going to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, jump back in when you want. But yeah, so how do you do that? How do you do that with air travel? Where do we have the opportunity to, and I'm not saying stop people because that sounds wrong, but a lot of people don't realize how sick they are until they're told. Like growing up, and even to this day, when I get a positive flu test, that instant I feel 10 times worse than I did when I walked into the doctor's office for the test. You don't always realize how unwell you are until someone tells you you're not well.
Yeah, I was just thinking too. I remember what I forgot, which was a lot of cases, more cases than not, are completely asymptomatic. They have no idea they were sick, but if you tested them, they're positive. And so they're just spraying it around. So you can have a lot of people coming in, but you're right. Unless you're checking people for COVID they're just coming in and now maybe they're going to spread. That's another stuff to think about.
And then do we start paying so much attention to that we forget other simple spreads of other illnesses and viruses and things that we're not paying attention to? Unfortunately, as a human race, we tend to focus on the most immediate and prevalent thing and forget about everything else.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. Same thing.
Yeah, Lindsay feels the same way.
Presenting symptoms, and you may be making all 8 people in their Mickey Mouse shirts.
That's what's really scary about this thing is there's people that never present symptoms
Right.
and had no idea they ran around for 45 days infecting everyone.
Right. And I said that's a lot of people apparently had that issue. So we don't know. And that's what makes it spread so much faster is everyone just with their friends and family making one person ill that never went anywhere.
I know LA is doing a, what do they call that? Group immunity or whatever. I forget the actual term where most of the people in the area have already had it.
That could be.
I know they're starting. Someone's starting a group immunity test, or herd immunity. That's it. They're starting that test in LA because some people were looking at the numbers and were like, the only way it went down this fast is if everyone already had it and just didn't know.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first place they're really doing how many people really had this antibody test. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting when we are able to, 2 years or more from now, we'll be able to look back and say, oh, it actually looks like the origin was probably here and not there.
I hope 2 years from now we look back and we all realize how much we overreacted and we're over precautious, because that'll make me feel better about what I'm doing right now. It's like I said, we sanitize the groceries on the way in.
I think it's actually the opposite. I think we should have reacted more faster.
Yes. Agreed.
Because you got to remember, everyone if right now is New York's peak,
right?
That means, let's see, what was it, like the second week of April? So that means
last week
people who are peaking got sick at the end of March. Basically, got sick about the time Disney World closed.
Yep.
That's the other thing that I keep saying to Ed. At the end of the day, a lot of these things are businesses. Disney is one of them. As much as we all love Disney, I don't think you could have more people on a chat right now and talking that love Disney. They're a business. I think what they did with those last few days is a mistake, but they weren't told to do otherwise and didn't have actual knowledge to do otherwise. And I think
the one exception is Disneyland did close faster.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I really think they should have announced Thursday night. And to be honest with you, I would have just closed Thursday night.
Yep.
Announce it, close it down. You're not open Friday. So right. I'm not necessarily agreeing that Saturday it stayed open. Although in Disneyland, and this is going to be what's interesting, I think Disneyland is going to be able to open sooner because there are so many locals. They could literally close down and not open the resorts, not allow travel in. You have to be a local annual pass holder.
Yeah.
And they can get back to almost like 80%.
Right.
So that's going to be an interesting one. We're the opposite, where annual pass holders can't hold the place.
Yeah.
Right. Because obviously it's a locals park, so it's a different beast,
Yeah, so they can open up with much different restrictions there.
Yeah.
They also seem to be a little bit more in tune with just how urgent things are to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that kind of upsets me, because like, oh yeah, food's open. Well, if the only thing open is food, that means the entire community is meeting in the same building.
Yes.
So this is why it's spreading so fast. I mean, food literally should be closed.
Yeah.
It should be like curbside pickup and only curbside pickup.
Yeah.
Which that's what it is right now anyway, right? Here in Florida.
No, I can go every day if I want.
You what?
I can go shopping every day, twice a day if I want.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Are they checking? When's the last time you went to Publix?
Oh, there's nothing at my Publix.
See, I've heard that all here. They are doing 6 foot separations on the ground. The plexi is
I know in Connecticut, which is where I'm from, they put in the thing where you can walk down one side of one aisle and I had to go back.
There were some articles I read just before we started this live that said some parts of Florida are starting to do that.
Yeah, it's
my personal Publix has been a free for all.
I'm sure, and that's crazy too. They limited the number of people allowed in the store. They
limited the number of registers open. Every other one can be open.
Yep.
I remember reading that.
And like I said, it's one-way traffic only. I don't know how that works if you need to go backwards or you're not against people, you know.
So for
people get confused.
For the people who are in the chat here, if you guys, we realize not everyone can do like grocery delivery. If you've been going out and seeing things in your community that you think are unique for what's been going on to address this, feel free to type it in here. We're curious because we haven't been out in a month. So I'm wondering what other places are doing. I only hear from, passerby.
My town now has food truck afternoons.
Oh.
And my town, it's someplace you visit a lot when you're not going to the parks.
Oh, okay. Got
it. So every day there's a different food truck that's available from 11 to 3.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Oh. Because at least it's outside.
Well, I mean, it's a restaurant that can't just do takeout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting. But it's I don't know. Everything's. I kind of like the restaurants that close, but that's kind of a good. I don't want to say segue, but Disney's going to have trouble opening some stuff because like Landry's fired everyone. They didn't furlough them; they fired them.
Yeah.
Really?
I thought they furloughed.
Landry's, I believe, fired everyone. Landry's, I think, wanted to get rid of the union and just fired the whole staff so they can get the union out of the business.
And that's another thing. You open up the park and suddenly the Landry's things are not open now. It's
and Landry's is most people don't realize Tusker House, Yak and Yeti.
Oh, is it Tusker House too?
They do Tusker House.
I didn't know. I knew
that's why Tusker House is a very different style buffet.
Oh, I did not realize that was not a Disney restaurant.
Yeah, no, that's not Disney. Disney's first table service was the one by Pandora. Why is it next to Nomad Lounge?
Oh, Tiffin's.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh,
that was Disney's first table service in Animal Kingdom.
That's right, because Animal Kingdom opened at the time of McDonald's sponsoring everything too. So
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so they own. I believe they don't even own all the quick services either. Actually, Landry's is very big in Animal Kingdom. But like Epcot, every shop in Epcot is not Disney owned. Oh, in World Showcase, every one of those the shops that are geared towards the local.
Yep, like Japan has Koshi, which is a big department store in Japan.
Epcot, Disney owns nothing in Japan.
Yeah.
Everything is owned by someone else.
Even
and Italy is half and half. Actually, no, Italy is like 3 companies that own the stuff.
No, Italy. It's all Patina, I think.
But the 2 stores are 2 different people.
One for Patina. But it's interesting. They could that's what the problem was with Springs when it closed. Is Disney said we're going to close everything, but everything else is its own, because at the end of the day, businesses are businesses.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of places in Springs I could Uber Eats from where I live.
Oh,
really?
So, yeah. Well, not a lot, but there's a few places like Sprinkles I could get stuff from. That it wasn't the Mexican. It's right next to the burger place. I always forget the name of it. I've never even eaten there.
Oh, Frontera.
That's it. They did Uber Eats.
Okay.
And then there was a handful more that added like right as it started, but then when Disney shut down, they disappeared.
Sure. Wow, that's weird.
But you also bring up another good point with talking about food and like communal dining areas. When the parks or resorts open, where do people eat?
Yeah.
Where? Yeah.
And again, I hope we're thinking, worst case scenario future, and things do, we find, herd immunity like we were talking about, and all those things did actually prove true. And it's not as difficult to start to open things back up. But they
can open fast because they'll just open without them. Disney owns enough quick services and stuff that they can open. And if you really looked at it, I'm pretty sure they were not planning on 100% opening the parks like they did with 9/11.
Right.
Where they opened all the parks, but like half the park wasn't opened.
Because
the
parks were just closed that day here, right?
Say it again.
How long were the parks closed on 9/11?
I think it was 2 days.
Because I was surprised to learn. I thought flights had stopped for the longest time, a day and a half, when I actually looked it up.
Depends on where you were. Florida, I'm sure, got the flights going pretty quick.
Sure.
I was in Miami when it happened, and I drove home to New York because suddenly I was a 3-day drive away. And I was a college student.
I was just outside of New York, and I don't remember hearing airplanes for 4 or 5 days. But there was also an investigation around the plane that left Newark but didn't do anything.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But it's interesting when you look back and you're like, that impacted us for so long. And I'm like, none of us have American flags on our cars anymore. We were all flying, for the most part, again, within a day and a half, and in the matter of a week, everything was like the memory, I think, sometimes is very different than what actually happens. And I hope we have a similar bounce back from this too.
Yeah, we remember, but not every day, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard.
I do wonder what Disney's thinking. I know in Shanghai they opened food and stuff, but that's because Shanghai started opening restaurants and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they just kind of followed the government's lead.
And that's so different too.
Yeah, but and again, it's going to come down to like being home for a month. We were, 2.5, 3 weeks ahead of Florida deciding to do a stay-at-home order. We are always going to be a grouping of people that is more cautious than others, and that's frustrating.
Yeah, especially when people around you don't care that you're trying to do that.
Right.
Correct.
Which is basically Disney. No one really cares. No, I want the better spot.
Right.
I'm not trying to get a spot. I'm just trying to stay alive in the corner.
Just give some time, some space to people. But no, just wait your turn. And
yeah, the outdoor queuing of businesses are kind of interesting. I also kind of like the fact that people are actually doing it. Unless Florida kind of hasn't. I saw people trying to get their unemployment applications yesterday.
Were they socially distancing? Because not on the footage.
No. It looked like Disney leaving after 4th of July fireworks.
Oh my God.
That's a whole other issue. Is that couldn't have been handled differently in the moment. You all of a sudden were presented with a situation where so for those of you that don't know, Florida is having a problem with the unemployment website. You can call it an accident, you can call it a non-purpose, but not everyone can file their claims. So they were told to go to the local offices and file paper claims, pick up the paper claim to file. The number of people who had to get to those offices, you couldn't have them 6 feet apart. They would have stretched up to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, there just wasn't the room to address that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that looks like it's designed for Florida's numbers to look better than they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the way they're testing. It's like, what do you mean you only get 200 a day?
Right.
And oh yeah, by the way, everyone can come as long if you feel you need a test, come, and they're out in 7 minutes. Like it's literally looking like Florida's trying to get healthy people that are paranoid to get tested. So they can say, "Oh no, we're only 10% of the people tested getting sick here."
Yeah, we're right. We're suspiciously low on the list of high cases.
I also found something interesting. The numbers of deaths are only from hospitals. So if you passed away at a nursing home, at home, or something else,
really,
those numbers are not in our numbers yet.
I did not see that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that came out of Cuomo. One of Cuomo. So I watch Cuomo's thing every afternoon.
Yeah. We stopped watching everything because Cuomo's still good, but everything turned into you don't need 2 hours every day. Again, political opinions aside, there's far more going on in those coronavirus updates now that we don't need to know about. They don't need to be part of that. So we stopped, watching that.
Although Cuomo's doing a good job.
Yeah, but in Cuomo, he was the one that said, yeah, it's only hospitals in our numbers.
Okay.
Jeez.
So people who have passed away, basically, if a funeral home handled the body, the number's not there yet.
Oh, but probably retroactively they'll add them in.
I know New York is starting to look at those numbers and they're going after them. But then you have the whole question of how many people did we think was part of the bad flu that weren't?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, that we were just attributing it to that. Yeah. Bryan, if you don't mind answering, are you Orange or Osceola County?
I'm Osceola.
You're Osceola. Okay. So we're Polk County. We live
Technically.
Geographically, we're a similar community here.
Yeah.
We're different counties. All of the Polk County numbers are coming out of the corner of Polk County that we're in, which is interesting because you start to look at Polk County, which has low reporting, but my neighbors across the street are Osceola, not across the street, but I shop with people at Publix from Osceola County, local Publix, and there's another one 2 miles up the road. All of that is kind of taking numbers that are centralized around a high tourist destination area and spreading them as far west as almost to Tampa, as far east as Daytona, as far north as, it's actually taking that geographic density and pulling it apart, which is what worries me too. Is we have numbers that look like they're, Florida's not doing too bad. Yeah, there's a little bit of an increase in the center of the state. Yeah, but it's all at the juncture of these 3 counties. It's not spread out over these 3 counties.
Well, it's all where the testing sites are.
That's what I was going to ask you. Where are there testing sites that you could think of that you could go to right now?
I would probably have to go to Orange County Convention Center because that's the only one that's not at that. Basically, all I have to say is, I think I'm at risk, and you can get a test.
You don't need to bring a script to the convention center anymore. Okay. See, that's
they only get 200 tests a day though. Okay. So you need to get there at like 4 a.m. Sit in your car, and they literally it looks like people are going on Rise of Resistance.
I saw that.
It basically they go back, they count everyone, and they tell her, sorry, you're not getting it today.
Wow.
And it's not because they don't want to. It's just FEMA doesn't send them more test kits. They get a delivery every morning. Yesterday they got an extra 50.
Ooh.
But it's tough because even you were sick after your last round of chemo, which again, we are appropriately heightened for these things. So you were going into the end of your week. So it was roughly a month ago. You were having congestion. You were having a cough that sounded like a dry cough, but you also had nasal congestion. So we weren't sure if they went together or were just happening at the same time. Even the doctor, when Ed couldn't get a hold of our primary care physician because it was the height of everything happening in Florida, couldn't get the standard virtual medicine company that I work with through my employer. It actually said the waiting room was full. When we finally got someone on for you that kind of went through it, did some symptomatic, treatment options with you. At the end of the day, she said, we don't have enough tests that I don't even want to, I wouldn't know how to tell you to get one right now. I'd have to find out. And if I send you for one, it's not going to matter whether you're positive or negative right now because we can't do anything about it for you. I need to treat your symptoms right now. Mm-hmm. So we potentially, missed an opportunity for Ed and maybe me, because I got, a little bit sick too, to be part of those numbers and know whether or not we might have. Because again, we might be looking at it differently, knowing we have antibodies.
Well, back then, all of Central Florida had 50 tests that had to last as long as you could make them last. So they were basically, someone had to be on their deathbed. It's like, we need to know what we're treating now.
Yeah.
And then you got to test.
Very scary.
And, every time we have, these types of chats, it always goes down to that, but it's still it's all those unknowns. Like you said, you don't know if you and your daughter had it. We don't know if we had it. And 2 separate occasions that are similar in timing to when you guys said you were sick.
Yeah.
But the same issue, like Ed, I'm sure you're sitting here thinking like the one reason why you probably think you didn't have it is that you didn't end up dead. Because in your condition, you should have been a lot worse.
Yeah, right. It's one of those things where it's like cancer automatically is one of the tick marks. Also, obesity is another tick mark. Like you said, you start to count. Oh, I'm now more likely to be this case. Thankfully, my blood work has always been okay. But you're right. At any time, it can drop off. Now I'm immunocompromised more so, and more at risk, and then like that it could get you, and you never know. And I think that's sort of where you get really scared. Like, I already met these other criteria as potentially being at risk, and now here I am with this, and it's in a worse case, and I couldn't just go get tested if I thought I wasn't feeling great, it's tough to do right now, even still. So,
and also that knowledge would be so powerful. If people who were sitting at home wondering if maybe they didn't knew if they did or didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I realized there were probably
so that was kind of tricky because you can still, while it's less likely for you to like touch a service and get it, they can. And if they're like, oh no, I'm immune, and they go running around touching and doing everything back to their old habits of hand washing, they're going to bring it home. They're going to spread it around, and someone else's, and that's where you're more likely to get it because they're going to touch their counter. They're going to grab something. Mm-hmm. It's a spot where while cooking, it's like, oh, I didn't realize I missed that one little dot.
Yep.
And it really is that scary. And that's, I can't imagine how much we're cleaning countertops now. It's, it's crazy. And that's within our own house and we're not interacting. But you still, like you said, I brought something from the garage, which is where we store most of our stuff now, to let it have its time to die, basically. But I brought it in. I don't know that the virus is dead on it. I touched the countertop briefly or touched my hand. It's right.
See, I have a UVC light, so I'll throw it in a bathroom that's right next to the front door.
Yeah.
I'll put the light on for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't get what's inside of it. Oh, right. Technically it does, because that does penetrate, unless it's like a thick like concrete wall or something. Right. So in theory, it should get everything in the box.
Right.
See, but there's
you can only do what you.
But there's another half of the population that isn't even doing this. So people don't realize
people are definitely
they're like, oh, it's I'm at home, I'm doing my grocery shopping, I'm only going out, once or twice a week to run to Publix or Kroger or whatever. And here we are, we're talking about our procedures we have for disinfecting the groceries before they come into a secondary portion of our house to then bring them into the main. These are the things that we have to go through. Yeah. And I know there's people in the chat, because I know some of the people who are going through that too. And not everyone's having the same experience right now.
A lot of people are definitely just going about their business, probably bare hands right out of Publix. Not even, they don't care. Those are the same people who probably didn't wash their hands in the first place anyway, so they don't care. Or they just think, I've been sick before, I can get a cold, I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
the immunocompromised people are the ones who can tell you the number of people at places like Disney who don't wash their hands on a good day.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Forget, COVID and all that. We started noticing
the last time we were there was March.
But there's a lot of times where, like, even if it's like if we're talking about like using it after a bathroom or before you eat your dinner or something, even just the people online, like I don't really think about it. I'm like, I'm hot and sweaty. I'm rinsing. I'm touching the railing in the line.
Yep.
There's a lot of times where you just don't realize it's like, oh, maybe I should clean my hands.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's my whole thing is, okay, people talk about when they go to the restroom, they don't touch anything. That's not the point. The point isn't that you were in the restroom and should wash up after using the restroom. The point is you had water and soap available at your disposal to clean between what you're doing the rest of the day.
20 seconds.
Just wash your hands while presented with the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Disney put hand washing stations all over the parks, which we never saw. That's how early we stopped going. But they had these all over the parks. You weren't going in the bathroom in the middle of the park. They wanted you washing your hands more frequently, because that is one of the biggest things you can do. Because I don't know how many times as I see myself on the camera, I keep like fixing my hair. I'm touching my face.
Yeah.
Even though I know not to, I'm still doing it. But
I'm sitting here twisting a cable so I don't touch my face.
Right.
But I'm a smoker. My instinct is to put my hand up to my face.
Right. And I mean, they say as long as you're using good hygiene in your home, you've cleaned your surfaces, it's not just going to materialize. So as long as you're doing, but wash your hands before and after. If you're going to touch your mouth or your face, wash your hands before and after. It's all you can do.
Lindsay brings up a good point. She thinks about it just barehanding something at the grocery store. One of the biggest things that I keep hearing is you're watching news and I'm doing my work and stuff. Shopping with your eyes is something we all need to learn how to do.
Oh.
When I all of a sudden realize the number of times like I open a door to the freezer at the grocery store and look at something like, do I want this? Me holding it didn't help me determine whether or not I want it.
Right.
Don't touch it.
I'm allergic to a lot of stuff, so I have to find the ingredient label.
Right. So and that's different.
Yes. Yeah. And on a normal circumstance, that's true. But right now, we all know the staples that we're going into the store for if we're going in. If I am able to put my order through Instacart and trust someone to get that, that means my shopping list is pretty standard and I don't need to do that. Right now what things you can and can't get from the store without widening your breadth of foods right now.
Touching every single apple or orange. Every one. It's like, all right. maybe look at the one that you can tell sometimes what looks good.
I don't know. Publix seems to beat up their fruit though.
I think, I will
You
say.
gotta, things like plums and nectarines. Plums and nectarines, you have to go through the whole thing to find a 3 that won't be bad by the time you get home.
You're right, because we've lived in 3 different regions of this country, and I still look at what happened to these. Everything is bruised. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I've had lemons go moldy the next morning.
like
how?
Off the banana hanger.
Yeah,
the next day.
I don't understand that one, but that is a whole other conversation.
But it is true. Like right now, we all have to be extra for one another.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's an American value right now. It's interesting.
I think for the average American, it is.
Okay.
The problem is all you need is 1% not to want to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's basically what scares me about going back to Disney too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have the people, it's like, no, I have to go. No, I have to do this. No, I got to do my live stream.
Yeah, right.
So that's the one thing that really upset me the most about the last weekend. And I kind of went through the emotions too. Like, first Disney announced, it's like, oh, crap. So the first thing that came into my mind is like, wait a second. Because I just finished going through my finances. So for those of you who don't know, I've been going about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, where I'm dealing with a big professional burnout. And I was hoping to try to kind of learn how to launch a different type of YouTube channel and start kind of like a media thing.
Mm-hmm.
I literally had my bag packed. I went to bed early. I didn't actually hear Disney close to the next morning. I was ready to go in and do the initial week of filming. Because I was looking at the time. It's like, okay, schools seem to not be in, and I think this is going to be a low crowd week. Woke up the next morning. It's like, oh, it closed. The first thing in my mind is like, okay, could I do this in 3 days? And then I step back. It's like, wait a second. Am I going to die if I do this in 3 days?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then what kind of convinced me is I flipped it on. I'm like, okay, wait, you're there posting on Instagram. You're a nurse at a nursing home. What are you doing at Disney right now? And then I started seeing the teachers, because back then school was just closed for spring break.
Yeah.
It was planning to reopen at the time. I mean, it's just, okay, so nurses, doctors, it's like, yeah, this isn't safe. The second DCP was canceled. It's like, nope, done. I'm not even going to, because I was hoping to go for like a Sunday afternoon walk around. The second DCP, and I kind of understand their risk assessment, which is they were working at the parks already. So they're all going to go in and say a final farewell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get that, except a lot of them jumped on a plane to go home to someone who's at risk.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things happened in that time period where we didn't know enough to know how to do better right then and there. That's everybody. And then that's why, I'm trying to remember when we had family in town was the first week of March. So by March 10th, we were out of the parks. And I think we went in once more after that. Maybe, did we not? No, our
when I was on, like I said, I started around chemo right then too.
Yeah, so I was in the parks on March 4th in the afternoon for Mickey's opening.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
And then I went back on the 8th, which was the following Sunday.
Okay.
Did we go again after we went to the opening day of?
Yeah, my sister was in town.
Yes, so that was the last day. So March 10th, we were out of the parks. That is right.
Yeah, so the only thing I went into at both times were Mickey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is,
and basically we went in, did Mickey, and left.
Yeah.
That's kind of ironic now. Nothing's going to stop us now.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, that is funny. I didn't even think of that.
All right. You're the first one.
I'm the first one, yeah. But yeah, it is true when you think about that. Like, there are going to be, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of vloggers who it is their sole income. This is what they build, which, it raises the question.
I mean, technically, I have no money coming in from it, but technically, I'm trying to make it. And I'm fine for this shutdown. I have the money aside. I put it. I can't do it again next year.
Right.
Yeah. See, I'm still working my full-time job, thankfully, and I have, other things that I do. So that's something interesting to us is the vlog, and that's why we like live streaming now, but I miss editing. We do it because for us it's fun. And you know what? We do go to some of those opening day things because we want to anyway, and we're here now and can do it. And yes, we take the camera. But if it came down to, like, we still haven't written Rise of the Resistance, because with Ed's immuno issues, we were not going to do one of those morning crowds.
So have you been in on it at all?
Nope. No. I won't go.
That ride can't stay the same.
No.
You can't social distance with the way that ride was set up.
That makes sense.
Oh, and that's helping a lot of rides.
Yeah. You're trying to stay away from everything, right? All info on it, or are you?
No, I know. I
watched,
knew the design of it beforehand anyway too, so I know.
You couldn't look at ride vehicles. It was, I
don't want to spoil for anyone who's watching that hasn't been down.
So it's kind of a 5-parter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only part 5 can social distance.
Yeah. Yep. That's true
And that's even going to be tight.
And that's, what do you do?
That's interesting. You even start to think about rides like Dinosaur where you're packed, 16, 20, 16, 3 rows, 12, whatever.
I mean, it's basically the same ride vehicle-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a pod of people that go.
Yeah, single rider at Test Track's probably done.
They'll leave the middle seat, yeah. Families will be able to go together still.
It'll be, if the family can't fit, if the family fits, that's all that goes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're one person, you're going to get your own car.
Yep. But where I was going with that is the vloggers. There are going to be people who go out that first day when the park opens just to be there when the park opens to show other people what the park looks like being open. And don't get me wrong, I will probably be watching some of their channels because I won't go. But there's a fine line between news and you don't belong there.
Well, some of those people every other day seem to be on looking for toilet paper. So they haven't actually sat still yet.
Correct.
Which is the other reason why I don't necessarily want to rush back, because if people haven't sat still for 2 weeks, they don't really know where their state is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's probably everywhere. Disney people are not. There's just a lot of people who, for one reason or another, feel as though they truly cannot stay home for 2 days, forget 2 weeks. Yep.
Well, that's what was annoying me, is we had finished our 2 weeks of quarantine after the family was in town. Because again, when they came down, we didn't know it was going to be getting bad till after they went home. Like, that was the spring break time for them. We quarantined ourselves for 2 weeks. And then I think it was still another 4 days before Florida hit day 1 of staying home. So we had done a full quarantine and nobody was quarantined yet.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating.
Actually, now that I think about it, opening day of Mickey may have been the last day my daughter didn't feel well. So it's quite possible we walked in with it not knowing we.
Correct. Yes.
Because there was no testing in March 4th.
No.
No one even knew the name March 4th. Or we kind of knew something was going on.
Yes.
But there was no things closing down here.
It'll be nothing. It'll be a small.
We were more concerned that a week and a half before your nephew had the flu, and we're like, can Ed be? What capacity can be? He be a regular Tamiflu? Right. Yeah, he tested for flu, because then the parents were.
Actually, there's a well-known creator called Dan Mace. He got sick in L.A. He was sick for like 2 weeks in L.A. Also got tested for flu, and it was tested positive. Doctor's like, no, we don't need to give you this virus test, whatever. You're safe to get on an airplane. You had the flu. We tested you. The flu was positive. Landed in Africa where you just walk up, get the test, no problem. And he had it.
Yeah. I bet that's a lot of people.
You know what? That would be interesting. We both had positive flu.
Yeah, and that was only a week ago, by the way. So like you're talking like knowing how bad it is.
Yeah.
My doctor, you're safe to fly.
So I wonder if you could, these are the questions that we still don't know. Could you have both? Are you testing positive for one when really it's the other? I don't think we know for sure yet.
Yes, I think you could have both.
You can have both, but would you test positive? So we both had flu shots.
Oh, that's a good question. Would you test positive, though? I don't know.
So the whole thing was we both had our flu shots. One of those times when Ed wasn't feeling well, he went and got a flu test and he tested positive for the secondary strains of flu. How do we know that wasn't this? We don't know. I don't know.
Well, you're not a doctor, right?
Well, no, I don't know affirmatively that whether a positive test for one means you don't have the other. Because those are things we don't know, I no longer can trust it was one and not the other for right now from other people. Your nephew may have come down because he also had his flu shot as a toddler. He tested positive for that secondary strain. How do we know he didn't actually come? Because we don't know enough yet to know that he wasn't coming down with,
2 years from now, we're going to have a much different.
Be like, everyone who tested for the secondary flus actually had coronavirus.
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
Oh, positive.
Yeah. No, I don't know that anyone's checking that for real yet. There's so many other more important things right now than that we'll look back at it. But
I think the quick test is opening it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
I know the quick test is primarily going towards making sure health workers aren't sick.
Yeah.
More to the point, it's like, oh, you had exposure. You got to go stop working for 14 days. They can get immediately tested to be like, okay, you don't have to stop working.
Yep.
We'll just keep testing you every day. But they're not fast tests. Yes, you can get an answer in 5 to 15 minutes, but you can only do one at a time.
Right.
Where the other test, you can do 30,000 at a time. But it takes 2 days to get all 30,000 answers.
Hmm.
I'm realizing we are going to have to stop Zoom because I have to do.
You have to do your chemo.
Chemo medicine.
That is true.
Because there's an hour window before I have to do one and then do another.
So it's about to be our time of the day for that.
51,000 positive. Yeah, my parents and sisters are in New Jersey.
Ugh.
There's some really weird stuff going on. We were comparing what was open and closed. Apparently, the area my parents are in has reopened some bars.
Really?
I heard that.
There's so much problem with alcoholism.
Yeah.
That they would end up taking up all the beds in the hospitals if they cut off the bars.
Oh, because the detox.
Wow.
Yeah,
to give like a region of Jersey where they are.
I didn't ask specifically. My mom is also in a situation where she can't go out.
Okay.
So whatever she's seeing on the news. So put a little bit of a mother interpretation to what I'm saying. But the other one that I was finding even more scary, people are letting their pets out. They can't find pet food for them.
Yeah.
So they're just starting to like open the gates and not run after dogs and stuff when they leave.
I couldn't imagine. Meanwhile, our dog is sleeping upside down behind us here. Who knows when? And the other one's in front of us.
No, my parents are like, my mom's even like, they've been trying to get a delivery for a month and they still have not gotten one.
That's true. We were supposed to do like a family FaceTime the other day, and your sister's up in Connecticut. She got the one time frame where she could go pick up her groceries right in the middle of that. She had to take it, which is not what we have here. I get, thankfully, I can order groceries and either pick them up 2 days from now or have it delivered later the same day. Yeah.
So different.
We don't realize that people in the city have to take it.
Yeah, they don't. But they're much stricter. They're not allowed to go out to exercise and walk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you stay on your property and only your property.
Yeah. I wish we would do that here because the number of people socializing out in our street, in our community here, is not social distancing.
No, there's no social distancing.
Yeah, just stay home.
Yeah.
Just stay home.
That's why I got me a blow-up hot tub, and I go between my house and the backyard.
Yep.
I saw that. I won't say I didn't contemplate also again. I'm like, ooh, like a.
Apparently they're sold out.
Yeah,
of course.
Everyone bought little pools. But I do highly recommend one though.
Sounds. Yeah.
You know what's really nice? You put your phone down, you sit down in it for half an hour with the bubbles going. You can't hear anything. You can't hear your neighbors, and it's almost like meditation.
That's a really good idea.
I was hesitant to even say it to you because you're not getting a hot tub because I've always wanted a hot tub here.
You don't necessarily need a hot tub, but it's but they're like half off at Walmart right now. And I got mine ordered.
Hey man,
so mine came delivered.
Well,
but just remember, you need chemicals and stuff if you do go that route.
It's true, so we'll have to go get them somehow anyway.
Or get yourself one of the bubblers for the bathtub.
You're right.
That is true. We have the big soaker tub that nobody ever uses. I'm like, I'm gonna go take a bath today. Like, who does that?
Yeah, but they actually make it. Basically, would be the same exact thing because the blow up hot tubs, it's just bubbles.
Yeah.
There's not jets squirting at you. So
right.
I'll have to think about that.
We'll see.
We'll see one day maybe.
Okay.
But thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for everyone who hung on that long time. I know it wasn't, the peppiest of discussions, but I think it was important.
Reality though, yeah.
Yeah, for a lot of people that were on this chat, it's reality in addition to us.
Yeah. So
it was great seeing you. Great conversation.
Yes. Thank you.
I look forward to next time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So hopefully we can get together outside of our houses, but if not, we're always open to doing a chat about something. We'll come up with another topic in the interim until the park's open again.
You have nowhere to go.
That was great.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.